Live from Beach Time Out in the heart of Times Square, you're listening to Beach Talk Radio with Kim and Ed Ryan.
And hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 135, coming to you live from Fort Myers Beach, Florida, the only town in the entire state of Florida where the mayor is more powerful than the governor. And we'll have more on that later in the show. We're broadcasting from our home base, Beach Time Out, where we've been broadcasting the show since August the 5th, 2018. What?
You don't have to scream. We're right here.
Sorry. We want to start off the show as we do every week, thanking our sponsors real quick. And of course, the show sponsors, Island Oils, Fort Myers Tiki Tours, and Beach Time Out. And we recently added a news website and a twice a week newsletter because we're out of our usual spot. And I feel disorganized a little bit. We want to thank the local businesses that have helped us launch and keep that growing. Nervous Nellies, JPS Vacation Rentals, Wave of Vitality, State Insurance USA, Mangaritas, Sun Palace Vacation, La Ola Restaurant, and the Tuckaway Cafe. And now over to my better half. Take it away, dear.
All right. And I want to welcome you, gentlemen. Today, we're going to be talking about the Calusa Blueway. Can you introduce yourselves? Tell us how you got involved, and then we'll go from there.
I'm Mike Hammond. I'm the Great Calusa Blueway coordinator. I work for Lee County Parks and Rec. So the Calusa Blueway is a 190-mile paddling trail. This originally was a Calusa. It still is a Calusa Blueway event, but the county now. At one point, we decided okay. Go ahead. We had run this tournament for years. It's the 17th annual already, but as things started to kind of dwindle down, the tournament was unfortunately going to go away, and then Brian and Diana asked if they could take over an event in Matt Lachey, and as a Blueway coordinator, we work together on it now. So that's how I'm involved.
And my name is Brian Stockbridge. My wife and I are the owners of Gulf Coast Kayak in Matt Lachey. And as Mike said, we decided to help out, and we wanted to do an event in Matt Lachey with the Calusa Blueway. So we started, helping out and organizing and running the tournament about 5 years ago.
So tell us a little bit about the tournament. What's the length of it? Not the length of it. I'm thinking about the other race we were just talking about. Tell us about the fishing part of it. Like, what is it? There's individuals, there's teams. Go ahead, fill us in.
Yeah, I could talk to that. So the tournament is on Saturday, November 14th. So it's a one-day tournament. And captain's meeting we do the night before, so the Friday before. And it's a catch, photo, and release tournament. So we're not killing any fish. So the fish are caught, and they are measured on a ruler, which we hand out the night before at the captain's meeting. And so it's a total combined inches of one snook, one redfish, and one speckled sea trout. So they consider that a slam, an inshore slam tournament.
Is that like a hat trick in hockey? I don't know. Pretty all right.
Close.
Much
better.
And so there's teams of 4. Is that how do the teams work?
So, up until this year, it's been an individual tournament where anglers fish on their own. This year, we are trying something a little different. Most people will be fishing as individuals, but we have incorporated a team aspect to where you can have up to 4 anglers, and you use combined inches, again, of one trout, one snook, and one redfish. But the caveat is, if you have a ringer on your team, you can't use all of his or her fish.
Okay.
You can only use one fish per angler.
And how long are you out there for?
Good question. So we launch, the tournament starts at Safe Light. So generally that's around 6:30, 6:45 a.m.
Okay.
And then they have to have their photos submitted to us by 3 p.m.
And so they're taking a picture of it and then sending it in?
Yeah, in years past, they would come to the old fish house in Matt Lachey where we had the event, and they would check in with the judges, and the judges would download their photos, inspect them, make sure they're good, and then award them the total inches. This year it's a little different. This year I think it'll be a little more convenient for more anglers around the area, to where they don't need to come to Matt Lachey because of COVID and everything we're going through. This is more of a virtual tournament this year. So rather than being in line by 3 p.m., they just have to email us their pictures by 3 p.m.
So somebody could be down in Bonita, or they can be, as long as they're registered, they can be, does it have to, it has to be on the Blue Way, or?
It has to be a public access within Lee County. So
Okay.
it's a Lee County event.
Okay. All right. And tell us a little bit about Matt Lachey. That's such a, he was like, he was like, that's right, just on the fly. Tell us a little bit about Matt Lachey, because I've been there. He's not been there. It's the quaintest, cutest little.
Yeah, so Matt Lachey, we moved here about 8 years ago from Northern Virginia, just outside D.C., and Matt Lachey grows on you. I absolutely love it there. It is quaint is probably a very good word. It's a funky fishing village. Great restaurants, great shops, great art galleries, and of course, great waters for kayaking and stand-up paddleboarding.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your business and how people can come out there and rent kayaks, paddle boards. What else?
Yeah, so at Gulf Coast Kayak, we're located right on the water. We have a retail shop, so we do sell kayaks and paddle boards and gear. We do great guided eco tours.
I'm going to get this right.
Where we do great guided eco tours where our guides are Florida naturalists. They're ACA kayak instructors. So you're going out with someone that really knows what they're doing. But yeah, and then you could blaze your own trail. You can come out and rent kayaks. We provide you with a map and kind of trails to follow while you're out there. We do stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking. A big thing that's grown over the last 5 years has been kayak fishing. So we do, you can go out on your own in fishing kayaks, or you can hire one of our guides and go out with a guide for 5 hours and kind of learn the tricks,
Yeah, I have a kayak. It's not a fishing kayak. I'm certain that there are specific ones for that, because the balance and getting a fish on there seems like that would be quite a task.
Yeah, the way the kayak fishing industry has gone is that the boats are getting heavier and much wider. So a lot harder to paddle, if you will. So not great kayaks for long distance paddling, but if you're only going to be doing a mile or two over the course of 4 or 5 hours, they're comfortable. That's another thing. The seats are amazingly comfortable, and when you hook into a big fish, they're very stable. You don't have to worry about getting pulled out of the kayak or tipping over. It gets chaotic at times, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's a fun way to get out there, and it's an affordable way to get out there and find the fish,
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that even a tricked out kayak is going to be cheaper than a boat.
It will be, and it's going to be a lot less maintenance as well.
So now the event is also going to be raising money for a special group of individuals.
Like candle lighters, and they've been great partners. And again, maybe that's.
Yeah, so we met we were introduced to they're called the Candle Lighters of Southwest Florida. They operate in 5 counties here in Southwest Florida, or South Florida in general. It was started over 20 years ago by a lady named Claire. And essentially they work with directly families that have children that unfortunately have cancer or some sort of blood disorder. So this year, literally every dollar is going to the Candle Lighters for the tournament. So as opposed to years past where we've given out cash as prizes, this year we've had amazing sponsors like Body Glove is one, Van Hunks Kayaks is one, to where they've donated great products for us to be able to offer as first, second, and third place. So this year, our goal is just to raise as much money as possible for the Candle Lighters of Southwest Florida.
And you said that people can go to any public access area. Can you talk from some of the public access areas in Lee County and through the park system?
Yep. And so it's access open to the public. So you can launch from Salty Sands, even though that's not, it's a private marina, but anywhere that everyone can have access to that water. We just don't want people to have their own private little spot that no one else is allowed access to their water. But yeah, I mean, down all throughout Lee County, there are kayak launches everywhere and the marinas everywhere. There really is so much access. If you are a kayaker, I mean, it just opens up. It opens up every little, you pull alongside the road and there's water going down. You start heading down towards Leverage Key, you can launch from there. Just it's a lot of great spots. So I wouldn't know how to even pick one now that you can fish really anywhere and don't have to come back for the weigh-in. There's so many great spots to fish
Oh
right
yeah,
here.
that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Now, can you talk a little bit about this
Sure.
map?
Yeah. So there are 3 of them. There are 3 phases. If you open them up, what the maps show you, they do show you there's a marked, the Calusa Blue Way Trail has markers out there, but also it shows you all the places where you can launch.
Mhm.
And a really cool thing. So if you're up north and you're trying to plan your kayaking trip down here, you can do it. If it's a rainy day, just pop this open your computer, or actually get a paper map, and you can see how much it costs to park, where the bathrooms are, all these things that it makes it so easy to plan your trip. And points of interest too. Like if you head over to Pine Island, where the Calusa Mounds are and what restaurants right there, all this great stuff. So, I think this is fantastic. It really makes planning easy. So I'm sure like everyone's going to check the tide, see which way the wind's blowing, and then start checking these maps to get their strategy for fishing that day.
I think that's where when I'm out kayaking, that's where I get stuck, as I forget to check like the weather and stuff. And I've had to have wonderful people out there sort of help me out as I'm rocking in my kayak on the way to Mound House. But it's 100 and how many miles?
It's 190 miles total. So the trail does run from Collier all the way up to Charlotte, but then there are little side trails. Like you can kind of see, this isn't numbers, but it goes out through Sanibel. And then there's some of the dotted trails where only more experienced paddlers should try to hit the passes. And then here's phase 3, where you're going up into all the little creeks too. You go up to Caloosahatchee to Hendry County, and then you've got Hickey's Creek, Cypress Creek, all these little creeks, Orange River. So it adds up to 190 miles. With the way I paddle, it's probably like 260 miles because I don't go in a straight line ever. Yeah.
Do you have people that actually do the whole thing and then register somewhere? Like I did the whole.
We've had a few people that have done the whole thing, and there are people that paddle around Florida. We had the Florida Paddling Trail Association. So there are people who paddle the whole way around Florida, and they come right through. But I'm not sure that they actually go up into the river and hit all that. But we have a few people that did the whole 190 miles. And I'm trying to. I'm really getting close. I got this section now of going up to Hendry County and back. So I'm within a few miles of getting the whole thing, I think.
I could tell you a really cool, in my mind, inspirational story. So there's 2 ladies that about this time of year in the fall, they launch their kayaks in Bokeelia, and their first paddle is from Bokeelia down to our shop in Matlacha. They camp that night on our shop, and then they continue, and they do, I would say, about 75 to 80% of the Calusa Blue Way. Last year, they were 87 years old and 85 years old.
Wow.
And they pack their kayak, big, long, 17-foot long sea kayaks. They pack it with camping gear, their food, their essentials. And so, they're an inspirational story.
And they camp along the way. Do you know how long it?
They
I
do
have
it
no
in about
idea.
8 to 9 days.
Where did you say they were from?
Somewhere here in Southwest Florida, but they launched their trip in Bokeelia on Pine Island, and then they circumnavigate.
We need to get them on the show.
Yeah,
That'd be
sound
great.
fantastic.
They're really neat ladies, very neat ladies. Yeah,
So they must be retired.
I would say so.
Yeah.
They got the time.
So
More importantly, the energy and the strength.
And is there a lot of exercise in kayaking?
Absolutely. There's good technique, bad technique, just about like anything. So
What kind of technique do you have?
Probably bad.
Yeah.
But even if you have bad technique, you're still
Now,
moving the kayak.
fishing seems like it would be quite a bit of a challenge on a kayak because you don't have a lot of space. So you're putting bait on the hook or using a bobber or what? I don't know. What is it mostly deep water?
Yeah, around the Calusa
That is
Blue
not
Way.
a good question.
What, the bobber thing?
No. Do you put bait on the hook? Well,
You use lures or bobbers or
okay. Go ahead.
So
what's the best kind of bait to use in one of these?
So I think
tournaments?
the most common bait would be live shrimp.
Of course.
And so, like you are limited in space in a kayak. So you get a small bucket with, we call them a bubbler.
Doesn't that sound like funeral music that you hear in the background there? Kind of sounds like funeral music, right?
I'm pretty dialed into this conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Do you hear
I'm
it?
hearing 80s.
That was a
I
perfect
think it's
answer.
80s. I think it's 80s
Yeah.
music.
Good answer. There's only one channel working on the radio inside.
That's
But anyway, back to your bait story.
So you get an aerator or a bubbler to keep the live bait alive. You don't need a lot of space for that. And then artificial, lures is
You don't have people cramping up and stuff like that, or
well, nowadays with these fishing kayaks, a lot of them you can stand in. So you could stand, stretch
okay.
your legs, get used to sight casting, seeing the fish from a higher
you
position.
ever have people fall out of the kayak and
Yeah, it happens.
so
Absolutely.
then they tip their kayak over and then the shrimp's gone, right? Then what do?
They got to gather their gear as quickly as possible.
Okay.
They're expensive stuff. They're rod and reels. They should be tethered to the kayak.
Oh,
If you're in
okay.
a situation
Do
where
you ever
might
do that?
tip.
I'm just apologizing. I should have warned you
What?
before
Some
we
people
went
might
to
want to.
this.
Some beginners might want to know these. You wear a life jacket.
Well, I think
Absolutely.
the beginners.
Well, you're
that's a
pointing
great-
at him. He's far from a beginner.
No, but they could go to his shop because
Right.
isn't that what you
That's the best thing is to go out with a guide
right?
first. Especially they know the water, they know the techniques, they know it's about it. And it is pretty rare to fall. If you fall on Matt Lachey, you just stand up. It's
not
shallow
deep,
there.
right.
We tell people before you start flailing and screaming, just put your feet down. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
I've never been. I have to be honest with you. I've never been to Matt Lachey, and when I saw the flyer the first time it came out, I said, "This tournament is in Matlacha. Where is that? I've never heard of that before." I'm sure I'm not the first person that's ever.
I thought it was
said
a
that.
hockey player when they said it's about Matt Lachey. I'm like, is that a hockey player?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is
So,
great.
how many fish usually win the tournament?
So it's a total inches of 3 different types of fish. So I would say, I think last year it was about 75 inches.
Of fish.
Yeah.
Total.
Between 1 redfish, 1 trout, and 1 snook. And the beauty of this tournament, it's only $45 to enter. The money goes to a fantastic cause. So we have people that do it just to have a great time. They have no intention on winning. They just want to be part of a good cause. And then we do have anglers that, some are weekend warriors, some do it more than that, and they're very, very good anglers. So we get a good mixed bag of people just having a good time and people that want to win the thing.
Kristen's yelling at me for not letting you answer the question, so I apologize. People get in their own.
It's your show.
They get in their own thing here and they start chattering, and I catch them. But
So I was on I think I was on the Facebook page, and there was a video of a guy fishing, and
a
a
kayak?
shark came up.
oh,
Oh, that was me. I was in that kayak.
That
No
was
kidding.
you.
Yeah, no, and we see sharks out there, and
Well, this one it was a hammerhead shark. Was that you?
oh no, that was
Okay.
not. So we do have one on our page where a shark came up and kind of nosed my kayak and then spun around real
Wow.
fast and swam away. But they're really. So I may sound
Take those
silly.
videos down.
What?
That's scary.
Well, that was the one in California where that hammerhead kept
Yeah,
following the
they
guy.
kept circling the kayak.
he
and
had
was
caught
hitting him with his
something, and
paddle.
That thing was relentless in its pursuit.
Yeah, I believe that was in the Pacific.
it was. Yeah.
so and this is what 13th?
This is the
November
17th.
17th?
17th.
No,
17th
17th
annual.
year. So what was the biggest fish ever caught in all the years that you guys have been involved in this?
How big was Josh? So there's a great angler, local angler named Josh Harville, and
Where's your
what was
pen?
Josh's redfish? I think Josh brought in like a 42-inch redfish.
Yeah,
couple
Holy
years
it was
ago.
over 40.
It was a massive redfish.
Wow.
Now, how much does that weigh, or could it weigh?
We don't weigh them. That's
we
it.
don't weigh them. I
photo,
would
quick,
say
and release.
15 pounds.
Back in the
maybe.
beginning, back in the dark ages, in the first and second one, did you weigh the fish back then, or has it always been
Mike could probably answer that.
Yeah, I don't think they ever. So when it started before I actually had this position, but it was always photo and release, and they give the information to University of Florida on what was caught out here.
cool?
But it was always photo and release, but it was trickier back then. Now everyone has a smartphone, so it's gotten a lot easier to.
Yeah. And we don't want the way you keep people from cheating is you have a special measure that you give out the night before. Or is that a secret? I shouldn't have said that.
No, absolutely. So they come to our shop. This year they're going to come to our shop, pick up their measuring board. So everyone's using the same board. And then we do throw in like a token or something,
What do you mean? Throw in?
like last minute change up to where just not to say anyone's going to cheat in this tournament, but we make it hard for them.
It has to be in the photo. Something it's kind of like a surprise. This has to be in a photo, and we change it up every year.
Oh, I
Maybe
see.
a wristband.
Yeah, good idea. Maybe if I gave you a business card, you can give them all out that says Beach
Well,
Talk
now it
Radio.
wouldn't
They
be a
could stick it
surprise.
next to the. Oh yeah.
Just laminate them so they don't
Yeah.
get wet.
So in a little bit, we're going to be having the captains for clean water come on, and so I just wanted to
Good preview, dear. Good promo.
Thank you.
I like that. She's learning. She's getting better every week at it. Sorry, dear. Go
How
ahead.
has the water, how has that affected the fish and fishing industry over the last, say, 5 years? Because we've had some issues.
Well, yeah, if you talk to old timers that have been here for 30, 40 years and been fishing these waters, they'll tell you it's not like it used to be. I think organizations like Captains for Clean Water are doing amazing things for this entire state. So I think we're on the right track. I think we've figured a few things out, and I think we're on the right track. I've been fishing the last month or so. I've been out quite a bit, and the fishing has been amazing. It's
that's
been
great.
really, really,
Great.
really good. They closed the, about a year and a half ago, you were no longer allowed to keep snook, redfish, or trout. So that process of
built it
allowing
back
those
up.
fish to grow.
Did you guys bring me a T-shirt, by the way? That'd be
produce-
nice to have one of those T-shirts.
I'll make
Did you
sure
bring
I
any
get you
extra
one.
T-shirts? We could.
I'll
pass them
overnight
out
you
for-
one.
Thank you. Thank
No,
you.
make them come to Matt Lachey
Yeah, or
and pick it
actually,
up.
You've never
No,
been
really.
to
How
Matt
far
Lachey.
is
Come
that?
on out.
Where is
It's
that?
not that far. It's
Where is
just you go to Pine Island and then you just
Where's
go.
Pine?
a
How do you
little
get to
farther.
Pine Island?
You go north and then take a left.
Okay.
Here, we'll
All
leave
right.
you this map.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, I
That
don't
one
have
would
a-
help him
Yeah.
either.
You
Just-
couldn't do. You're going to do it on the standing kayak? Would you do it on the standing? Oh, that's a
Fishing?
paddleboard. Oh, you
Oh,
have a
no.
kayak. She has
I
a
have a
kayak. You
kayak,
couldn't
but
fish
it's
in that
not-
thing.
no.
It's
Stand
got
up
like a.
paddleboard fish. It's a lot of fun. It's
Oh, wow.
challenging. You got to
Yeah.
pick the right
Talk
day
about
too.
working out.
And it's
Oh,
just the
yeah.
best spot to do it in Matt Lachey. There's so much protected water. It's like that. This is the perfect spot for kayak fishing and stand-up paddleboard fishing.
I guess my concern too is sometimes when I'm out kayaking, I'm really looking for those signs and the markers because you could get in the little areas there and really get turned
Oh,
around.
Helpechny Bay, I've been lost quite a few times. I just have
Really?
to get real quiet and listen for.
Boats?
Yeah, the mangroves. You turn around, it all kind of looks the same. So it is really nice when you pop out and see, marker 42 or whatever down there. It really is.
Are there apps that you use that are
Yeah,
helpful?
There's a Calusa Blueway app. It shows you right where you are.
Oh, that's cool.
So when
Yeah,
you when
I
you
have
are
that.
lost,
That's
it
cool,
shows okay, I went the wrong way in the mangrove tunnel. You look and you back out and go the right way, and it's
They had some of the speed limit signs changed to 25 or something increased because I guess the storm knocked them out. Has that been an issue for the kayakers?
I
No,
don't know.
they're trying to change them back, but our boat's pretty good about people when they see
a
them.
lot. So where I've been, I haven't had issues. I know you said in Matt Lachey, there are some of the spots where people go pretty quick through the mangroves, but where I've usually been. And some of those signs that I've had people say, hey, people are going faster, and there weren't actually speed changes in some of the areas. So
Okay.
it's just, but I
Brian
think
was going to
Brian's
say
had-
something.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say we know when it's snowbird season, the boats go a little faster and they try
Really?
to cut across flats that are only about 12 inches deep and they run aground. So we see it a
Oh.
lot in Matt Lachey.
Yeah.
So to all the boaters out there, stay in the channel.
One of the things I wanted to make sure everyone knew, in case I missed it at the beginning when I was fixing the wires, you've made this like completely COVID safe for people.
That's correct,
So
yes.
talk about that because people should know that.
Yeah, so in years past, we would have the captain's meeting on that Friday before the tournament, generally at the last 4 years has been at Point Yabel Brewery here in Fort Myers. And then on Saturday, we have an event with a band and catered event at the old Fish House in Matt Lachey. So this year, because of COVID, captain's meeting on Friday is going to be virtual, most likely through Facebook Live.
Oh.
And then on Saturday, rather than them having to drive out to Matt Lachey, all they have to do is email us their pictures. And we'll be doing live updates throughout the day.
Cool.
And then we'll be saying the winners over probably Facebook Live.
Very nice.
So very COVID-free, COVID-safe.
And you had to close your business. You were telling me earlier for the month of April to
Yeah.
make it right.
due to COVID, we were kind of in a gray area in the sense of, we certainly weren't in the essential business, but
Well, you were to you.
well, for us, yeah, for our livelihood and for the people around us, they wanted to get out, outside.
Sure.
That was a safe place to be. But it was actually a little too good for business. We were having big crowds, and we just decided to close the entire month of April, just to take a step back, reevaluate, come up with new protocols and procedures, and it's really worked. When you come out to our shop, there's signs, there's flow in and out, there's procedures in place to where you can feel safe.
Yeah, you chose to.
We chose
Close.
to. No one told us we had to. We thought it was the best decision for our staff, for ourselves, and for our patrons.
Right.
To kind of take a look at what we were doing and do it better.
But business-wise, you're going to be able to get that back. I mean, that
We had a great summer. We
Cool.
run a summer camp. We were actually able to do our summer. We had to do our summer camp. We had to reduce our numbers for social distancing purposes, but No, we had a great summer. We've always had great support from the community. So no, we've
And exactly where you're located, so people know. I know most people are going to go
we're
online.
right off Pine Island Road as you come into Matlacha. The address is 4120 Pine Island Road. And of course, you can find us on Facebook. You can go to gulfcoastkayak.com and learn all about our services that we offer.
Yeah, and if you don't know where Matt Lachey is, people, come on, get out of the house every once in a while, figure it
So
out.
do you think anyone can learn how to kayak and stand up paddleboard?
I believe so. Absolutely. Yeah.
That
I-
it's
Yeah. Anyway, if you just pick again, you pick the right day. If you go out on a wavy day, it's not the best to try to learn to stand up on the paddleboard. But if you go to his shop at Matt Lachey, where and the wind's going the right direction, it's flat, calm, and if you can stand on a board. It's
Yeah. And if you are reluctant, going out with a guide or an instructor is probably a really good first step to kind of build that foundation and build up from there.
And Mike used to be a ranger.
yeah.
Like, for how many years you were a ranger down
So
here?
I was 2 with the regular parks, and then I did the Conservation 2020 for about 4 years.
Cool.
But this was right here. I'd patrol the pier and Crescent Beach, Matanzas Pass. I love patrolling down here. It's a lot of fun.
What do you think of the yellow belly sliders?
The yellow belly sliders.
Yeah.
dear. They had no context for that. There's a business that sells these little
Oh.
yellow bellow sliders.
Well, it's made illegal to buy the red-eared sliders. And so subspecies is actually the yellow belly. And yellow bellies are native of Florida, but they're native further north. They're not native down here.
Well, of course, I
So
knew
now
that.
people are buying yellow bellies, though, unfortunately, and then
They're
now
down
they're
here.
being let loose.
Yeah, yeah.
So
is it bad to have an animal that's not native to the area
not
down
necessarily.
here? Okay.
I don't know. I'll ask my cat. He's not from this area.
So
That
it's
was the best answer ever.
what? He's going to ask his cat?
No, just the whole answer.
What would you ask your cat?
My cat's not from this area, and cats actually do more damage to native wildlife
Yeah.
than
I'm not a cat fan. Are you? What
I like
what kind of
cats.
cats do you mean? Like regular
just
house
domestic
cats?
cats. Yeah, just people. When the people leave their cats out or feral cats, they do eat a lot of native birds.
We're way off the
Fortunately,
subject here, somehow.
I'm
How'd we
getting
get
off.
Yeah, no kidding.
So Brian, it's let's talk about the date again. It's November.
So sure. So November 14th, Saturday, is the day of the tournament. Virtual captains meeting is going to be Friday the 13th at 7 p.m. And again, catch photo release. You email us the pictures. You can register online. You can find us on Facebook at Facebook.com/Calusa Blue Wave Tournament. And you can always reach out to us at Gulf Coast Kayak if you have any questions about the tournament registration. anything like that.
$45 to sign up.
$45, and it goes to
When
an
you get
amazing
the shirt,
organization.
You
this shirt's worth $40. So this,
Yeah, you
it's
get-
worth,
get the
I
shirt?
mean,
You
You
get
get a
that
really
shirt?
nice shirt.
yes, you get
very
this
nice.
is one of our shirts long
That's
sleeve.
2 years
this
ago.
is a $40
Okay.
shirt to begin with. So.
Yeah, I can attest to those. I got one of those for the paddleboard race, that's what was in my mind when we first started too. But those are amazing shirts.
Did you talk about the paddleboard race?
No,
Yeah,
we could talk
because Mike
about
was
that.
Mike was organizing that last time, but you think it'll be
Right.
back in 2021?
I think so.
Cool.
I do. I was missing. I was walking on the pier before I came here, and I just really just thinking how much I missed doing it this year.
Yeah,
We'd love to do it again. It just didn't work out this year. Rescheduling it,
right.
it just didn't work out.
Is
So
and it's typically in what month of the year? What
June.
month? June.
We usually try to do the second weekend in June because there's so many other events and things like that. So, it's a fun time of year to be here. And
Well, whatever we can do to help with the
Yeah.
tournament, let us know with our newsletter on our website and get the word out. And we appreciate you guys coming down. And good luck with it all. So you're looking for like what, 60-ish?
Yeah.
60?
Generally, we're looking. Goals generally about 65 anglers, and in the last 5 years, we've hovered between like 55 and 65.
Cool.
No, but we really appreciate y'all having us on.
Oh, yeah, thanks
for
spreading
coming
the
down.
word.
Well, I
Absolutely.
appreciate you putting up with his
Yeah.
sideways
Anytime.
I
comments.
don't know what happened with all the wiring at the beginning. Was kind of weird.
I know.
Never
And then
happens
when you
like
say
that.
turn it to me, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm on my
That's
own.
why she's a good co-host,
Yeah.
Thank
Good
you very much.
Lord.
All right, guys. Good luck
Thank
with
you
everything.
so
Thanks for
much.
coming
Thank you.
down. We
Appreciate it.
appreciate your time. And before our next guest comes on, I'm going to tell you all about one of our sponsors, islandoils.com. Island Oils, which of course you can get online at islandoilsllc.com. They repel the bugs, the no-see-ums, the mosquitoes, the flies, the gnats. It soothes the itch. You will have itch no more because that's how good that stuff is. It's made in Florida by Floridians, and it smells fabuloso. it doesn't smell like Fabuloso. It just smells fabulous. And it's made with high performance, performing essential oils. And it just, it's so smelly good that you can spray it a little under your underarms if you want to. And you're not going to get any bugs in that area. So check them out at islandoilsllc.com. And please get an order going for them today because they're super nice. And they've been our sponsor now for about, I don't know, this is our second go around with us. And we appreciate it very much. IslandOilsLLC.com. And, of course, the Fort Myers Tiki Tours. They're open for business, and they are featuring social distancing cruises, private boat tours for up to 4 people for only $119.99, for up to 6 people for $179.99. And that is total per boat, of course, not per person. They supply the U.S. Coast Guard captain, and they have all the required safety equipment. All tours are 90 minutes long. Sunset cruises are $20 extra, and the prices do not include sales tax. So give the Fort Myers Tiki Tours a call today at 239-887-0042 or check them out online on the Facebook, 239-887-0042. And Dan, you can grab any microphone you'd like. They are both very clean. We clean them off, and everybody, I'm sure everybody that's watching knows exactly who you are. And so we're so thankful for you to come on. We've chatted a few times and had you on by telephone, but thanks so much for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me today. It's good to be out here. Sorry if I'm a little groggy. I was been camping down in the Everglades for the last week or so, or a little less than a week. So I'm got into town very late last night. So I'm a little tired, but I'm here.
So when Alicia, who works for you, told me that you were in the Everglades, I don't, when somebody says they're down in the Everglades, I don't understand what they're doing down there. Like what, when you say you're camping, where do you camp in the Everglades?
So there's actually a lot of places to camp down there in Everglades National Park. It's a really cool experience. Seeing the sunrise come up over the Gulf Coast from the most remote part of Florida is one of the most awesome experiences I've ever seen. There's no people around, nothing like that. So there's actually platforms out in the middle of the Everglades you can camp on. They're chickies, or just a roof in the mangroves.
That's crazy.
Porta potty on them. We actually stayed in the campground at Flamingo. There's a big campground with power hookups and everything. So we did it the kind of the cheating way this time, but it's always good being down there. It's good being away from everything.
What do you hear when you're down there?
You've never been down there, right?
No, I don't get out a lot.
Mosquitoes and a lot of bugs. So I'm covered in bug bites, but I'm
we
from
have
Florida,
the stuff for you. Then.
That's right. IslandLLC.com. No, so do you see alligators and other things? And
yeah. So there's.
What are you going to ask that?
No, it's just, of course they see.
Well,
Go
some
ahead.
people might not know.
He's not a real outdoorsy person.
It's actually the only place in the world that alligators and crocodiles coexist.
No kidding.
So you can be fishing a creek and see a croc and then a gator. So it's the amount of birds down there is pretty good. But I mean, for me, I go down there to fish. Tarpon fishing is really good down there. We're actually working on a conservation film right now. So we were doing some work on that. So it was a little bit of work trip, a little bit of fishing. So I was the camera boat, but I got to catch a couple tarpon.
Oh, so you had a group that went?
Yep.
Very cool. So how was the fishing?
It started out a little slow. Yesterday morning was insane. There was hundreds of tarpon, thousands of tarpon out on the Gulf that were chewing on bait and biting pretty good. So it was pretty remarkable to see. You're seeing these, 100-pound prehistoric beasts coming up, just crushing bait schools, getting ready for, they gorge right now in the fall. So you're seeing just, 100-pound fish just come up and crushing, bait as big as this microphone, big mullet and stuff. So
wow.
It's really cool just to really see it's a true wilderness experience, the most wilderness experience we have in Florida.
They are very prehistoric looking. They're a beautiful fish, but they are big and scary.
Yeah.
Did you get that on video?
Oh yeah, we got some really good video.
So what's the plan with the video from being down there? What are you going to do with it?
So we're helping to just distribute the information. A lot of people, these water issues, they see it as it relates to their life. But if you look at the big picture, all these different water issues in South Florida, the issue of the Everglades, it's not getting enough water. You look at the Caloosahatchee and the St. Lucie, we're getting way more water than we used to, the unnatural discharges. And, for us, it's getting that big picture out there of you have to look at the system holistically, and what works for the Everglades works for us and also works for the East Coast. And that's what policymakers listen to. They want solutions that work for the whole state, not just one little, let's not spend billions of dollars on one little area. let's spend money on something that's going to really look out for the overall fishing industry and tourism industry that Florida has to offer.
So before we get into the issues like that, how did Captains for Clean Water get started?
By accident. So I grew up here, fished here a lot, and the discharges were something that they happened a lot. Every couple of years you get it in the middle of summer. And it always kind of irritated me. But it happened in January, February of 2016. We started getting these bad discharges, and all the guides were pissed off because it was right in the middle of our tourism season. I had charters booked 2 a day for the next, several months. And all of a sudden I couldn't even keep my bait alive at the well at Punta Rassa at the base of the Sanibel Causeway because there's so much fresh water coming out of the river. I couldn't, you make half day charters, $450, $500. So you can't take that kind of money from somebody and know that you're going to give them a lousy experience. So a lot of guides had time off and the time of year when you really have to make your money to get you through the slow times. So we put a letter together, put kind of a petition together, and we were just overwhelmed in the first 48 hours. We woke up the second day and the Facebook page had like 10,000 likes on it.
Wow.
And, all these different news reporters reaching out. And
when was this? What year?
So that was February of 2016.
Okay.
Late January, we started getting pretty angry about the water. And then by first or second week in February, that's when we started gaining a lot of momentum and just kind of ran with it from there.
Can you explain to people who might not know how those releases adversely affect the water and the fishing?
Sure. So there's 2 main impacts that the releases have. The first is the salinity issue. That's often hardest for people to understand. Even if that water coming out of Lake Okeechobee was like, Dasani water, pure water coming out of there, it would still devastate our seagrass beds and our oyster beds. And that's like the filter of our estuary here and the food source of our estuary. It's where everything grows up in those grass beds, those oyster beds. It's where we go catch our bait every morning. The scaled sardines and pinfish live in these grass flats, and the discharges kill that. About 30 days of sustained discharges, you start to see grass dying, oysters dying. And that has huge implications throughout the rest of the system. Even the shells you pick up on the beach rely on our estuary. The dolphins that you see and that tourists come here to see and expect to see, they rely on that, and that's their grocery store. So you start to strip away that foundation of the ecosystem. You get dirtier water and less life, which that's not why people come here. They want clean water and a lot of life, a lot of activity. The second issue is nutrients. And that's more of a longer term issue. So with these discharges come very unnatural high levels of nutrients. And the primary nutrients are nitrogen and phosphorus. The bad one here on our coast that fuels saltwater blooms is nitrogen. So all that excess nitrogen, it's shot out in a very short period of time, like a month out of the year, 2 months out of the year, when you get those huge pulse releases. That's a very unnatural thing. And in conjunction with all the grass dying, the oysters dying, you start to get, towards that kind of collapse area. And that's what we see if you have real high volume discharges, is that the grass is dying, the oysters are dying, and then it's fueling algae blooms. And it can go from it impacting the fishing to impacting our economy overall like that. As soon as it crosses that threshold, and it's also long term. The longer you have these releases, it takes 8 or 10 years for some of these grasses to grow back. But you have releases every 2 to 4 years, sometimes every other year. Every year we've seen back to back. That's what really causes that long term devastation. So the next time you get discharges, the estuary won't be as healthy as it was before, and it's just a downward spiral.
How did the issue get so political?
I would say it's been political for a very long time. It's contentious. There's a lot of money to be made on either side of it. You have the tourism industry, which is like where we're sitting now, a lot of mom and pop shops, small industries, and there's conflicting uses for the way Lake Okeechobee is managed. If you're managing the lake to eliminate discharges and help the Everglades, which is the way it worked 100 years ago, it's not going to provide as much water supply. And you've got sugar industry uses a huge amount of water out of that lake, and they rely on it. So they like keeping that lake artificially high. And the dry, coming out of the dry season, we like to see that lake a little bit lower. So it's like, you know, if you have this much water in the bottom of your bathtub and you turn it on, you got a little bit less time to overflow than an empty bathtub. And that's, you know, there's a way that you can take Lake Okeechobee's water and send it south to the Everglades when it needs it in the dry season. So that it's just you know, they have money to make off of it. And, you know, we have something that we want to fight to protect because we love it. And because we make money off the resource here, you know, whether it's a business like this, that's, you know, 100 yards from the beach or fishing guides or even, you know, big outdoor brands, you know, Orvis and Costa and Yeti. I mean, they're involved with us because they have money to make and they care about these places. You know, they're all part of an economy. You know, you've got one that's a very consolidated, you know, there's a couple people that make decisions, and, you know, sugar industry is one of the top political contributors in the state.
When you say the sugar industry wants the water high because they need it for, can you explain what they're using it for?
Sure. So during the dry season, which is, you know, in Florida, it's like February, March, April, May. It starts to get real dry in May, and, you know, and hot. They're taking about 3,000 cubic feet per second, is sometimes more, sometimes less, out of that lake, putting it in their canals and utilizing it as irrigation for their crops. And, you know, that's done largely at taxpayer expense. It's the water management district does that for them. It's, you know, free water supply to them. You know, and they've got a lot of lobbyists that fight really hard to keep that lake higher, because it means, you know, more guarantee that they're not going to run out of water, that they're going to have that water supply for their crop. And, you know, I recently learned they haven't had any water supply, you know, economic problems since the early 1980s. I think if you knocked on doors here on Fort Myers Beach, you'd probably hear everybody here say we've had multiple years in the last decade where we've lost money from our water quality issues. So it's that balance. You know, these folks down here don't have, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars to write to political campaigns or anything like that. So, you know, that's why we all need to get together and use our voice collectively.
So how big has the organization grown since you started it in 2016? And how do you, I mean, what is the funding, and how do you stay? Is it a 501(c)(3) or explain?
So we're a 501(c)(3), which, you know, it kind of sucks because there's all kinds of regulations about what you can do, what you can't do. And, but it's, you know, it keeps us focused on the education and awareness. That's where we spend our resource. And really we like working more in that dry season. You can't do anything about the releases when you have a lake that's 16.2, which is where it's at today. Right. Like it's too late at this point. Like there's no magic button. Like, you know, we kind of exhausted all of our options. So what we like to do is, you know, work it proactively in advance for these management things. But our organization, you know, it started with a couple of volunteers. That's the way it was ran for the first few years. We have a staff of 9 right now. Nine people working full time. We've got, you know, members and supporters, over 30,000 that we've had that have taken action on these issues, you know, reached out to policymakers and all that. The vast majority of our funding comes from tourism industry here locally, the outdoor industry, but the vast majority of its members and supporters, you know, the small contributions, people that, and really a lot of it's out of state. You know, it's people that vacation down here, and people that, you know, I've all the time get letters from, you know, somebody who their grandma lives in, you know, Iowa, and her kids come down here and she's unable to make the trip, but she wants her grandkids to be able to come down here and fish and experience it. So I would say our funding's pretty diverse there. It's kind of all over the place. You know, some grants as well, but they're kind of a pain. We get most of our support from, you know, local people and people that care about the resource.
Now, you mentioned about the releases. They started releasing this week. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I heard it may go on for a month. Now, how impactful is that going to be? And would it be better to release a little bit along the way, or do this sort of mass flush?
Yeah. So first of all, the health of our estuary right now is the best I've seen in a long time. We had an awesome spring. I mean, that water off Fort Myers Beach looked like, you know, Abaco, Bahamas. It was crystal clear. This summer we had a huge massive amount of bait. Like if you go down there and look at the beach, especially south of where the dredge is at, you'll see it's bait all along that beach. Sanibel is the same way. The bay is the same way. It's everything's full of life right now. But we've received about as much as we can safely take from our watershed runoff because it's been really wet the last couple of months. So I would say that the estuary is about as stressed as I would ever want to see it as a fishing guide. You know, if it was up to me, like I'd like to draw the line right where we're at now. If that water starts getting real clear right now, you know, we'd have awesome, you know, healthy estuary going into next spring. It could be way worse. If we started this wet season with an 11-foot lake, if we would have started with a 12.5-foot lake, we would have been getting discharges for several months in summer when algae blooms were at their peak on the lake. Days were longer, weather was hotter. That's what fuels algae. You know, they like heat and nutrients. So
some of what you're saying is I'm not following because
Okay.
when you say, I don't mean it like that, but when you say the estuaries were so healthy, how did they get that way?
we haven't had discharges in 2 years.
From what we're seeing this week.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
we had 2018 was terrible. We had really good water management in 2019. The Corps, we fought very hard to get the Corps to manage the lake more proactively. They lowered that lake to under 11 feet. We didn't have the discharges in 19. This spring we had a dry spring, so we didn't have a lot of runoff. Late summer we had runoff, but it wasn't too bad. So it's you have a pretty healthy estuary right now. The discharge volumes that they're looking at are about 4,000 cubic feet per second, which cubic foot is like over the size of a shoebox. So thousands and thousands of shoeboxes of water every second coming through the Franklin locks. Our harm threshold for the Caloosahatchee is about 2,800. So for me, we've often seen discharges that are 10,000 CFS. Those are the ones that are really bad. I think 4,000 CFS will do damage to the estuary. It's going to hurt it more than I would like to see. It's going to negatively impact our water quality. I'm not expecting a huge crisis unless we see a lot of other rain locally. If we're dry from here on out, it's going to suck, but it's not going to be anything like 2018. If we start getting monsoons and tropical system or something.
Why is that? Explain why that will make it worse.
Sure. So our water system in Florida, it's very manipulated and it works very well if we have average rain or below average rain. When we start getting above average rain, you get all this polluted runoff that comes down in the water. That's that brown, murky looking water you see. Yeah. So when it's dry, our water's really clean, but you want that balance. You want a little bit of freshwater flow coming in. So that's essentially everything we advocate for is building projects that give water managers more tools so they don't have to slam us with water. They can operate the system in a more metered out fashion and not, punch us in the summer when the algae is really bad and the weather's warm.
What would be some of those tools that they're looking at to implement to better manage the water system here?
Sure. So in the year 2000, Congress passed the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan. It was supposed to be done in 30 years. We're 20 years into it, and 0 of the 68 projects are completed. So that's why we started Captains for Clean Water, to push, and not just push any project. Let's look at where's your ROI. You put X number of dollars in, where do you get the biggest return on how this project impacts our lives? And what we've, talking to scientists and, from FGCU to other organizations, the projects that take Lake Okeechobee's water, clean it and send it south to the Everglades, that helps everything. But also even here in our water basin, we have the C43 reservoir, which can take water. That actually helps out more during the dry season because we need dry season flows as well, just to maintain the health of the estuary. But it also helps with discharges. So it's building projects, reservoirs and wetlands to clean the water, hold the water and clean the water, that very much replicate the way Florida looked 100 years ago. We used to be a huge swamp. Now we've drained a lot of that. So all that runoff is what causes the problems. But building these reservoirs, you can capture the runoff, meter it through wetlands, and then flow it out at a more natural pace into the tide. And it'll significantly help the health of the estuary and, ultimately trickle down.
Why haven't they done any of the projects?
It takes political pressure to get anything done in this country. It's in the year 2000, everybody was, popping champagne bottles like, all right, we did it. There's a plan. But people don't hold their politicians accountable. And, politicians are what they are. They're looking out for their own interests, and they're going to pay attention to, you know, whatever the top 2 or 3 issues at the time are. So that's really what our challenge is now. It's like, you know, these projects may take decades to complete. There's immediate short-term things that the Corps can do now, which we're fighting for, and we've seen, you know, results of that last year at Great Water. But it's really keeping that constant pressure and getting business owners to speak up. That's really who they listen to.
Yeah.
Go to Washington, go to Tallahassee, and build that consensus. And we have that consensus now from the state, you know, with Governor DeSantis's leadership, to the federal government who's paying attention to this. It's one of the only things I'm seeing right now in Washington. And I'm not a Washington person, but I know our issues, we're seeing bipartisan effort. Democrats working with Republicans to try to fix this. And we've seen wins this year in Washington. We've seen progress this year in Washington. So that's the kind of momentum it's going to take to keep this top of mind. Otherwise, you know, you take your boot off a politician's neck and they're going to do what they want. So you got to really hold them accountable.
How did you said it at one point a couple of years ago, it was at 11 feet. And now it's at 16 feet, and there's nothing. I mean, you have to let it flow now. So how did they not manage it the way they did 2 years ago when you said it was better managed?
Sure. So the lake was at 11 feet this year, late May, early June. You know, it was hovering right around 11 feet. And you know what happened is it rained a lot. Rained on the lake, rained north of the lake. That water, you know, flows down the Kissimmee River, flows into the lake. And it filled up. You know, we added 5 feet of water over 5 feet of water to the lake just this rainy season. But what we weren't doing was late in the dry season, early in the rainy season, there was no water flowing south to the Everglades. They cut all water supply off. We just spent billions of dollars building these bridges on Tamiami Trail so that water can flow down there, and there wasn't a drop of water flowing through it. So that's something that they need to do a better job of, you know, getting that water out of the lake once it starts raining, flowing it south to the Everglades. But look, I mean, there's opposition. Sugar industry does not want that water to flow south because it's less irrigation supply in case of emergency. So it's that constant, you know, pressure to the Corps to get them to, you know, look at the interests overall, because, you know, special interests, they have a lot of lobbyists, a lot of government people that can go in there and influence. And, you know, we've got ourselves and, you know, all these business owners around us.
So is there any possibility that we have a situation like we did with the algae and all that, or is the water health, or is it healthy enough where you're not concerned about it the way it was a double whammy back, I don't know, a couple of years ago now?
At 2018. Yeah. I mean, look, anything's possible. I remember in 2016 seeing the algae crisis over in Stewart and telling my friends over here, there's no way that's going to happen here because we have so much tidal flow. Our estuary is healthier. We're not going to see that. And then it's like, I mean, it was like an apocalypse out there. So I'll never say never. I wouldn't expect it to turn into like a really bad problem this year. I expect to not be happy with what we see, but I'm not expecting there to be, you know, dead whale sharks and, you know, thousands of turtles and dolphins.
Oh yeah,
but,
that was brutal.
You know, you get a one tropical storm that comes over the lake, and you know, you've got an inundated system already that's, you know, full of pollution. As soon as that all would get discharged, you know, granted it's cooler than it was in June, July, but we're also in a La Nina right now, which typically means drier and warmer. So if it's warm and you get a freak rainstorm, you know, a freak tropical storm, it could, the possibility is always there. I mean, I've got my fingers crossed, and, you know, I don't want to say we're out of the clear, but I'm not expecting it to get that.
Had you ever seen a situation in your life where they were bulldozing dead fish and putting them in dumpsters like that? We saw it down here. The dumpsters were filled with them.
Yeah, I was actually right out here off Fort Myers Beach, and must have been early July of 2018. I was with Dr. Bill Mitch. He's a wetland ecologist. Yeah. So I was right out there with him doing water samples, and he had some grad students with him. Had one who was foreign, didn't live in the United States. She's coming over here to do work, and they turned and asked me, you know, what is all the construction on the beach? And there's bulldozers and, you know, dump trucks. Oh, what are they doing out there? I thought you couldn't build on sand. I said, they're bulldozing wildlife, you know, making these piles of them, and you know, and it's a good thing that they were doing that. It gets those nutrients out of the system. You know, that red tide can feed on all those dead animals, but man, like I never would have expected to see, you know, equipment, you know, construction equipment being used to clean the environment. It's kind of like, you know,
what's it been like for you to have to deal with politicians? because you can never trust one.
No, it sucks. I mean, there's some that like that inspire you that, and we're a 501c3. We don't give endorsements, but I mean, there's some out there that you can tell really care. There's a lot that are opportunistic with it, and when it's like, oh, it's a hot issue that everybody's great on it kind of thing. But I like dealing with fish and my friends, and I like being in remote places in the Everglades.
You've never met an asshole fish before, have you?
No, I've never met a Democrat or a Republican fish either. They're all kind of.
Are there? Maybe you can't say, but are there a couple of local politicians that that the people can really trust when it comes to the water?
I would say that locally here, people that are in office, the people that I'm proud of it really comes down to the city of Sanibel. I think has done an incredible job with Mayor Ruane and Commissioner Smith and Mon, the whole deal out there. Their whole city council has prioritized this and has gone above and beyond, going to a bunch of meetings that they don't want to go to that, but they do it because it's right. And I think they really represent the local voice. Look, we've got a governor who's done a lot. We've got members of Congress who have done a lot, but to me, the ones that I can relate to are the local ones that are,
right. What's that?
Do you have any other questions?
Well, no, I was going to
want to make sure.
I was just going to ask, how do you feel with Chauncey Goss has not recently, but taken over South Florida Water Management District? I'm sure I screwed that up, but how's he been? How has that relationship been?
Yeah, so Chauncey's a friend. He's also on our Captains for Clean Water board. We recommended to the governor that he be on that water management district board. It was something that, I think, he's taken a more balanced approach to everything. And look, I mean, they've made a lot of decisions that I think are a lot more balanced than where they were. So it's great to see, and the amount of transparency you see out of the district compared to where we were before. That's a big step up. That's one thing the governor's promised was transparency. And I think, coming from the last regime at the Water Management District to where we're at now, it was a huge step forward, massive step forward. I think of everything that's happened since 2018, the governor coming in saying enough, y'all are out. Right. That's been the biggest thing that we've seen an impact here in the fight.
Great.
What should the people be concerned about when they see on TV or they hear that these discharges are being done up there? What should the local residents, be looking out for and be concerned about and do?
Yeah, great question. So right now, the Army Corps of Engineers is working to develop it's called the Lake Okeechobee System Operating Manual. It's the kind of the Bible of how water's managed throughout Lake Okeechobee and the whole Everglades system. That is, the Army Corps is taking public comment on that right now.
Okay.
And people need to go to the Corps, go to their site, and on that LOSOM, Lake Okeechobee System Operating Manual, I'll actually have our team posted on our Facebook page for public comment. But definitely go on there and say, we need to see a better Lake Okeechobee management system that alleviates discharges by better managing Lake Okeechobee's water, lower during the end of dry season, so that we have the capacity and moving that water south during the dry season. It's not like we don't want them, unnatural discharges to the coast. We want that water to go south to the Everglades where it's needed. A lot of people don't realize that's a drinking water supply for 8 million Floridians comes out of the Everglades. So we need that sheet flow to recharge the aquifer so it doesn't suck salt water in from the Gulf and the Atlantic. That's where people's focus needs to be right now. We saw proof in the pudding in 2019. City of Sanibel was fighting that very hard. So it's keep on that fight. Keep the Army Corps focused on looking out for all interests, not just special interests, with the new LOSOM or Lake Okeechobee System Operating Manual.
Who caught the biggest fish this weekend?
I did. I didn't actually. Yeah, I did. I caught I don't, for me, the tarpon, it's all about the first couple of jumps, but I did get one boat side that was about 50 pounds and hooked a bunch more that were in the 100 to 120 range.
When is some of that video going to be available on your site that you took this weekend? Does it take a while?
Yeah, the next couple of months. We'll definitely send it to you kind of as the project. Cool. Yeah, but next couple of months, I think we'll see it. What
do you want people to know about how they can support your organization?
I don't care what organization you support, but if you're a person that lives in Southwest Florida, South Florida, vacations here, find an organization. If you identify with Captains for Clean Water or SCCF or any other organization, Calusa Waterkeeper does awesome job. Write them a check, share their social media stuff out. That's one of the biggest things. Talk about it with your friends and family in inconvenient times. Like you need to have those conversations at dinner. You know, when you're talking about football or fishing or whatever's interest to you, talk about water. I know it's weird. I know it's not what you think, but it's not what you think about all the time, but keeping that conversation going so people don't forget about it is the only way this problem is going to get fixed. We've watched what happened after 20 years of stagnation. We ended up with a catastrophe here. That can't happen anymore. The only way it's not going to happen anymore is if people really start talking about it and making it part of their everyday lives and speaking up when the time's right.
Well, we've had a ton of politicians on in the last 6 months running for office this year.
Yeah.
Every single one of them said, "I'm for clean water."
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I get the mailers. They all, I mean, there's a very small group of them that, that really
understand it.
that walk the walk.
Yeah.
But they all talk the talk.
Right,
I think that's probably true of any politician across the
Right,
planet.
right. Hey, we're talking the same language here. So,
Yeah.
can people donate by going on the website? Is there a donate
Yep.
page on the
Yeah,
website?
you can donate on the website or buy a hat or a membership.
Cool.
All that stuff.
What does membership get you?
Membership, I think we give like one of the little hoorag or a buff
Okay.
face mask. I believe they're a little on back order right now.
Great.
COVID, we had supply issues.
Right.
Everybody was buying those things.
Sure.
It's like, well, the nonprofits that they're helping out kind of got put on the back burner. But yeah, so you get some stickers and put on all the email lists. We're not spammy with emails. Once a month. Sometimes we try to do once a week, but it's all educational stuff. So
Great. Well, so
Great.
do you know how much the membership is?
$30.
And that's per month, or
That's
that?
a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
that's you
reasonable.
gotta raise that, man. Come on.
Look, we want the thing with Captains. We're not trying to be exclusive. We want to be inclusive. And $30. We have kids that are in elementary school that save up their summer money to
That's
to
cool.
Yeah.
make a donation. Or we just had a kid from New York City that worked a summer job and sent I think it was like $500, sent a
Wow.
check down to the organization. A middle
That
schooler.
is super.
Yeah, and but we try to keep it inclusive. So a lot of people put additional contributions on, but that's not what we're about. It's getting the education to people. I mean, the support helps; it allows us to scale that. But we want to be inclusive. We want it to be an organization where anybody can be a part of. And
And how many actual captains are there in Captains for Clean Water?
I don't have an exact count on that, but
A lot.
It's a lot. Yeah,
Nice.
and they're we get captains from Louisiana, South Carolina,
Oh, cool.
Alaska, like literally all across the country. Because Everglades it's a bucket list destination. Like it's the Super Bowl of fishing. Like everybody wants to come fish the Glades. Everybody wants to fish a couple of these iconic estuaries. So even if it's just on their bucket list, if my personal opinion, my philosophy on this, if you dream about going to these places or it's it's on your bucket list, it's your job to fight to protect them. I probably Boundary Waters is one up in Upper Michigan. They're looking to put this huge mine on, which would ruin this iconic fishery. It's not on my top list of places to go, but
Yeah.
I damn sure sign every send letters to it
Yeah,
fires me
yeah.
up. Like that's our next generation's not going to have the experiences that I got to experience as a kid. I mean,
That's
I've watched
great.
stuff slip away over the last 20 years. So
Well, thanks so much for coming all the way down here
Yeah,
and coming
thank
on the
you.
show. It's nice to meet you in person.
For sure.
We've been on a few times on the phone, and we appreciate that. So anything we can do, let us know. We look forward to seeing the video
Yeah,
and
for
get
sure.
a
Yeah, people
membership.
should go to the website. I
Get a
know there's a
membership.
lot of videos that you have up. I was watching one last night, and it really explains in depth all of the
Oh, yeah.
issues, because this is a multi-pronged issue and a multi-pronged fix. So
yeah.
anything we can do, let us know. And
Yeah.
thanks again so
And get
much.
on the site and get a membership today, folks. Do
Yeah,
it.
And I'd like to get you all out on the water at some point. We should.
Don't
get you-
say that. Don't tease me with that.
Oh, I'll definitely. We'll
That'd be
set up
great.
some time and
That'd
do it.
be
I
great.
want to show you. I mean, and like now is a good time. The next 10 days or so before the discharges really start impacting this. I want to show you
The difference.
Like fall is like this area is alive during the fall. There's birds, there's bait, there's predators, there's tarpon, there's sharks. You name it, it's out there. I just like to, a big part of what we do at Captains for Clean Water is showing our perspective to others. And I'd like to get you out there to really see it firsthand, so
That'd
you
be
can have
great.
kind of a better understanding
be
and
great.
take you on a little tour. So,
And Carrie asks, what's the website? It's captainsforcleanwater.com.
captainsforcleanwater.org.
Org.
I think .com might redirect. I don't know. That's
Okay.
Not my
Captainsforcleanwater.org. And they're also on Facebook. All right, Dan, thanks a
Thank
lot,
you
man.
so
Thanks for coming
much. Thank
down.
you.
We got to do it that way, I guess.
Thanks.
And all right, folks, before you take off, we do have another guest coming up. So stick around, and we have one more guest. And thanks to Dan for coming down and talking to us about that great organization. And go on captainsforcleanwater.org right now and get yourself a membership and really support them. They're doing great stuff, and we appreciate it very much. Before you go, we have a representative from Crow. Come on down. Take care, Dan. Thanks a lot, Dan. And we also had the folks from the Calusa kayak tournament. So
Yeah.
that was awesome. Everything's about the water today, except for now it's about the animals.
Well, some of the animals that go into the water. That's right.
Okay,
That's
we
right.
didn't get you there. Go ahead. Let me see if that one's working now.
Am I on?
Oh, you are on. Perfect. So we know that Crow has an event coming up, which is what I was getting in touch with you guys during the week so that we could have you come down and talk about the event. So first of all, introduce yourself to the audience and the
Say a little bit
yeah,
about Crow.
yeah.
and-
So, for those of your listeners that don't know, I'm Allison Charney Hussey. I'm the executive director of Crow. And for those that don't know about Crow, we are the clinic for the rehabilitation of wildlife. We've been around for over 50 years. We're located on Sanibel Island, but we take care of animals, native and migratory wildlife from on and off the island. And we treat, well, this year, unfortunately, we're going to have a record year, and we're going to probably treat about 6,000 patients this year. We have a teaching wildlife hospital. So we have students that come from all over the world to learn about wildlife medicine. And we are open 7 days a week. The hospital is to take care of the wildlife. We have a visitor education center that teaches about wildlife medicine and just about the wonderful and important balance of taking care of our wildlife and how important it is to have them.
Why do you think? Why are the numbers higher? What?
Well, so human interaction
Okay.
always causes, we're building, development is going up. But during the pandemic, the hospital never closed. And we had a lot of people who were staying home and looking out their window and noticing wildlife a lot more than, when they're at work. So we just had a lot more calls. So we always encourage people to call us first.
Right.
Because sometimes the wildlife they notice is just fine and needs to stay out there.
And if someone sees an animal,
Mhm.
wildlife animal in danger, they should not go and approach it. Should they call somebody first? What should be the process that they go through?
Well, so again, we're open 7 days a week. So if it's between 8 and 5, we always encourage people to call us at the hospital first. Hey, we've seen this animal, it's hurt, it's injured, or there's a bird and it's not flying and we're not sure if it's okay, because right now they're fledglings. They're not flying. So
Right.
in those cases we say, no, it's okay. Leave it alone. It's learning how to fly.
Right.
But there may be cases where we'll say, no, take a picture of it, send it to us, and we'll let you know. And of course, we can talk you through, okay, take it to one of our wildlife partners, because we have a wonderful network of veterinarian offices who serve as drop-off locations for us. If you don't want to drive all the way out to Sanibel to bring us something that you've
Right.
rescued. Or we also will say, no, please don't try and approach that bald eagle.
Right.
You're not equipped to handle that. And
Right.
we'll send one of our trained volunteers. So it's always important to call us first because you never know what you're approaching.
I know that I was leaving here one time, it was a year ago, and there was a bird out there that it didn't look well, and I called, and they got somebody here right away, and they said, do your best to keep people away, because people were trying to approach it, and it was all tangled up.
She can never
It was
mind her
all-
own business.
No,
She's
no, no.
always got to be in the middle of something.
I was very worried, and
She was
and
putting the yellow stakes around the
I
bird
was
with
yelling at
the
people like,
crime
leave
tape.
the bird alone.
No, we want people to be mindful of wildlife. And in fact, we have initiatives where, if you care, leave it there. So the fledglings that I was talking about, leave babies in their nests, leave, mamas around. But also, I was here earlier listening to your folks about their kayak fishing tournament. Mind your line. We want people to be careful with their monofilament, and because it's so dangerous for birds and turtles and hooks, getting into the animals. So we want fishermen to be responsible and take care.
Do you get a lot of yellow belly turtle sliders brought into your location?
We so most of our patients are avian birds.
Okay.
Most are, but then mammals and then reptiles.
And I was looking through, I was impressed with the list of releases. Like, you are releasing.
We live for the releases.
Yeah, I bet.
That's what we want. We want eventually to release everything back into the wild that we can. So,
And I know the great blue heron that Ranger Rob found all covered in oil.
yes.
Again, with Ranger
He or
Rob.
she.
You bring them up every
Was
show.
it a girl or a boy?
I don't know that we sexed it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, what's
So-
the big deal?
I don't know. Well, I just want to use the right
Is there a way to
pronoun.
how would you tell? Could you tell?
There's
Blood test?
there's a
There's a
test.
way.
There's a-
Okay.
there's
There
a
are
thingy.
tests.
There's a
There are
way.
tests.
Okay.
But that was a wonderful success story. So we were able to clean it up and not too much damage, and so we were able to. We'll use the pronoun she. We
Okay.
got her back on her feet. She rested up, and then we released her back. So you can see those photos and video from that release on our Facebook page.
So how many bald eagles have you had? Or-
Over the years,
Yeah.
or just recently?
Is it a normal thing?
It is.
Really?
In fact, we had a release not too long ago, and
Well, first of all, what happened to it? I mean, what?
the eagle that came to us had been found out near FGCU,
Okay.
Alico Road area, and had some issues. It had been in a fight, so
Ah.
lots of damaged feathers, covered in kind of cement because there's some quarries out
going on
there.
that, yeah.
And so we cleaned it up. We actually, it's a really interesting story. So I would encourage you and our listeners to look at the story. We did a feather transplant,
Wow.
and it was there for over 6 months. It came to us in early March. We did feather transplants, rehabbed.
Where'd you get the
it.
feathers from?
Other eagles that had passed
Okay.
at other locations.
Hmm. Did you put a call out for bald eagle feathers?
Mhm.
Interesting.
I know.
It's
Who
like
knew?
a transplant list.
It is. And so it gave the eagle an opportunity to heal and grow its own feathers.
Hmm.
And we did a release probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it came out of the crate and took off and flew. And it was just
What's the wingspan on a
majestic.
bald eagle?
Um,
Or that one?
that one I think was about 6 feet.
Wow.
It was
Crazy.
gorgeous.
They're not. Are they still endangered species?
They are off the endangered
Okay.
species list. Well, okay, don't quote me on that.
That's close. It's borderline close. I remember when they were a long time ago when it was an issue.
So Alaska and then Florida have the second largest eagle population.
Cool.
But you get everything over there. I saw a raccoon with
We do.
with a cast on its arm, possum.
We do.
You take everything.
And we've got a wonderful, we have animal ambassadors. So people can come and learn about our animals. They can bring their kids. We've got some great areas where the kids can learn to be a veterinarian, get some just hands-on experience taking care of, the stuffed animals.
Gotcha.
Nice. So you have this event coming up. Yeah.
We do.
And I saw I don't know if I saw the release or something, or anyway, came across my email, and so I got in touch with you guys about how you're changing it this
Taste
year,
of the
and it's very
Islands.
interesting how you've had to
Yeah.
change that.
Well, I think a lot of the not-for-profits are having to reimagine their fundraisers this year. Due to COVID, we have restrictions. And so Taste of the Islands is normally a one-day event. It's normally on a field. We have restaurants that participate. And we just kind of knew, one, that probably our restaurants who had been hard hit, having been closed or having only been able to do takeout for so many months, they were going to be struggling. We also knew that people probably weren't going to be comfortable coming and standing in line and being in close proximity. So we've reimagined it. We've taken it into the restaurants.
Great
and
idea.
So You'll still go and taste your items, but you'll go to the restaurants. So we're encouraging you to go to your favorite restaurants. We've actually got more restaurants participating
That's
than
great.
ever before. And it's for the whole month of November, not just one day.
Oh, great.
So you have an opportunity. We've got 30 restaurants participating. So I
All on
hope you're
Saturday?
That's a lot. That's
I
a
hope-
lot of eating out.
I
Yeah.
hope you're hungry.
Oh, boy.
You can hit one restaurant every day.
Is it all on Sanibel?
Sanibel and Captiva.
Okay.
Although my Fort Myers Beach friends have said, well, we're islands too. So
That's
Taste
right.
of the Islands.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
right.
We should get us.
I'm sure
Get
there'd be
in
quite
on-
a few number of
in on the
restaurants that
action.
would like that. So how does the donation come back to you? How does that work?
So for every taste item, every item that is on the menu that the restaurant has designated, 50% of the proceeds come back to Crow. We are also selling passports, and they're available at any Bank of the Island or Edison National Bank location, Bailey's on Sanibel, and Hucksters. They're a $10 donation. It's like a passport, right?
Right.
You can track where you've been, but it's also your ticket to vote for your People's Choice. And it also enters you into win some fabulous prizes like weekend stays at Tween Waters or Sundial or
Very nice.
Sanibel Moorings or jewelry or gift certificates. So we've got some great things planned.
So when you knew the COVID thing was going to put a damper on this year's regular event, you're all sitting around a table thinking, oh, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? You probably got parrots and eagles in the background chirping and yelling.
We've got the wise old owls whispering in our ears.
I mean, this is a great idea. So were you worried that you were just going to have to cancel it, or you knew you were going to recreate it?
We thought, we've got to do something, and we wanted to give back to our restaurants who always support us.
Yeah.
And this was a great way to do it. So we want our patrons to go into the restaurants, not only order that one item, but also
Spend money.
have a drink and have other
Yeah.
items, because
Right.
now you're supporting the restaurant as well. So it's a great opportunity. Now the other thing is every Sunday is a crow crawl. So we focused on different areas of the islands and different restaurants. So we'll highlight 6 or 7 restaurants every Sunday, and our sponsor tents and the Crow tent will be out in front of each restaurant. And we'll have our animal ambassadors. We'll have our T-shirts for sale.
Great idea.
So our sponsors will be giving out tchotchkes and fun things in front of the restaurants, kind of, again, to drive business out to the islands.
And that's every
Sunday
Sunday.
from noon to 4.
Awesome.
So-
Great.
So crow crawl usually means
It's like a pub crawl.
okay,
but,
well then
but
you really should
crow.
come on Fort Myers Beach and put that in effect, because these people are all about the crawls and the pubs down here.
Hey,
So
we'll do whatever we can. That's right.
so how do people support Crow?
Well, we have members. We have memberships available at different levels, depending.
Tell us all the different levels.
Oh, well, so you can start at a $50 level and then go up to, if you want to be a $10,000 President Circle member.
Wow.
So it depends on your level of giving and what you can do. We also have grants and then, of course, our fundraisers. But we're blessed by the people who love animals and want to make sure that our environment is as beautiful as it is.
How old is the organization now?
You must have
Sorry.
read my mind.
Oh, I
No,
thought
it's
I thought
fine.
you asked that when I was in the
No,
restroom.
no.
We're just over 50 years old. We
Wow.
celebrated
I knew it was
50.
On
Yeah.
Sanibel the whole time.
It's been located on Sanibel. Our founder just passed away
Really?
earlier
I do
this
remember
year,
hearing
not
that,
COVID related. So we will miss Shirley, but her legacy lives on, and we know she's smiling down.
Well, so tell us real quick what was her idea 50 when she
50
decided
years ago.
she was going to start it? What happened? Did she see something that said
So a friend, she found this turn on the causeway and called her friend who was a veterinarian and said, look, I've got this bird, but none of the local veterinarians will take care of it because it's a wild animal. So she and Dr. Phyllis Douglas, who has also since passed, took care of this lease turn in her home. And for many years, it was a volunteer-driven organization in people's homes. And then, of course, became a 501c3, and we had some land donated to us, and now we're a state-of-the-art hospital. You may have missed it, but we're a teaching facility, so we have dormitories on site where we bring students and interns in from all over the world. We train about 50 students a year.
Wow.
That must be a coveted internship to get. I mean, that would be
so
fantastic.
I love to think that we are training future wildlife
Sure. Yeah.
veterinarians.
Yeah.
How many birds and other animals do you think come through Crow in a month or a year?
This year we're going to see over 6,000 patients.
6,000.
And that'll be a record for us.
And that's basically just from how far away?
We are local. So probably within the, Lee, Collier, Charlotte, Hendry, mostly Lee, right? We also are the only licensed sea turtle facility between Sarasota and the Keys. So if a sea turtle comes in Collier County, it'll come to us and we'll take care of it.
Wow.
What's the strangest call you got about an animal that you knew you're not going to, a pet or some?
Well, we've seen some really odd things this year, right? So we've had a couple of boobies come in.
A what?
Boobies.
What's that?
The birds.
That's a bird?
We've had some frigates.
I've never heard of a
I was
booby
just
bird.
saying stone face.
I know. I was very impressed with you. We'll have people will bring in snakes. We've had an alligator brought in.
No kidding. How do you bring in an alligator?
Well,
Carefully.
very carefully.
Okay, so it was a wild alligator that's got hit or something. It wasn't a pet. It wasn't a pet, deer. Knock it off.
Pet alligator.
Yeah, we actually can't take care of anything that's domestic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but would you?
So we can only take care of smaller gators.
You would take care of an alligator.
If it's small
They're
enough.
pests, though.
I'm not going to take care of anything that's going to put any of my staff at risk. We've got it. Our staff is just amazing. They love the animals. They take care of these animals, and the dedication and professionalism of the Crow staff is just.
Did you ever get this
unmatched.
call, Allison? We've got Barbara online too. She's got a giraffe. She doesn't know what to do with. I mean, just some kind of crazy animal that you never thought somebody would have.
No giraffes. No.
Just
giraffes.
the booby birds.
Just we've had some fun stuff coming.
Coyotes?
This year.
You wouldn't take.
So they are the coyotes that have come in. Unfortunately, have been had to be euthanized because the damage has been too
I was
much.
coming back from the gym this morning. It was still dark out by Stony Brook, and there was one of those gigantic, nasty looking, ugly feral hogs, like right on the sidewalk. You ever have one of those?
Not to my knowledge.
Would you just take that out in the back and start putting it on the spigot?
Well, I mean, I think if
You
it's
can't
that
eat that,
big
can you?
too.
It was big. You could see the fangs.
Again, we have to be really careful
Yeah,
to make sure
mostly
that our
birds.
staff isn't hurt.
Is there a video on the website about the bald eagle? Did you say that?
There's some great videos,
Cool.
and yes, there's video on the eagle release and also on the transplant. So if you wanted to look and see all of the things that had happened during his rehab.
That's great. Have you done any other transplants, like an organ transplant, or just feathers?
So I have to admit that that's a good question for our veterinarians. I don't know that they've done any actual organ transplants, but we do a lot of surgeries. We do, whether it's soft tissue or bone.
How do you know you're not like these birds aren't? I mean, this might be dumb. How do you know they don't have disease or something? I mean,
They're vets. They test them.
I know, but all these birds out there and people are getting around them and they're picking them up.
Do you
They're
ever
trying to help
get an
them.
animal that you rehab but it can't be released?
So sometimes there are animals that come in and cannot be released, and they will either stay with us as a ambassador. So for example, Gigi, we have a wonderful opossum who came to us as a baby.
An opossum.
She's
Yes.
adorable.
Oh, come on.
She
Those
is.
things are
love-
varmints. They're
no,
nasty.
they love.
What?
People love them. The people that
There's
love
some
them
things
love
that
them.
shouldn't be out there.
She came in. She doesn't have a
They're
tail.
cute.
She didn't
Aw.
have, her tail had been injured, so it needed to be amputated. And so because they need that for balance out in the wild, she became one of our animal ambassadors. So we use her for education purposes in our programs.
Somebody carried around, and
Mm-hmm.
no kidding.
Yeah, so she's wonderful, and we tell people about the good things that the possums do, like they're not rabid, they can't get rabies because of their blood temperature. They eat ticks, they eat garbage.
See, who knew that?
So if you, I lobby to have all opossums released in my neighborhood, because just think, if you have an opossum in your backyard, you're not going to have any ticks. Mosquitoes, all kinds of insects are going to be gone from your yard.
I have to tell you a quick funny story. I was taking the garbage out yesterday, and I'm a little bit of a sissy sometimes, and something jumped on me. And one of those tree frogs just stuck to my leg, and I jumped like I was bitten by a. No, I did. Luckily, I didn't, but I jumped like like I was attacked by a bear. You ever have a bear?
The good news is the Cuban tree frogs, while they are invasive, are not dangerous.
Okay.
But people should
So I
be
shouldn't jump.
They should be on the lookout for those cane toads, because those can be dangerous.
What do they
to
look like?
Your dogs. Those are those really big.
Oh, okay. I don't
ugly-
think I've ever seen one of those.
They
Toads.
do some damage to the dogs.
They're toxic.
Yeah.
They have that toxic.
So November, all month
the month
long.
of November.
All right, and people should go on your website
Yeah,
and
they
start
can get
spending
all
money
kinds of information.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and get out to Sanibel and spend your $6,
And
people.
Captiva.
And Captiva, and don't be cheap, and help out the Crow folks, because it's going on the next 50 years,
That's right.
right?
Absolutely.
How long have you been there now?
I've been there. I started in January of 2019. So I say, let's see, I've been there a year
Yeah,
and 9 months and
you're already running the place. Look at that.
17 days.
And you probably want no other job in your life. That's got to be like the greatest job.
I'm actually a recovering attorney. I was practicing
What?
law in here.
Okay, so let me ask an attorney question.
Nope.
Come on. Has
Nope.
nothing to do with animals.
Don't
has to
do
with
it.
the masks.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Well, you got a mask mandate out there too, right? All right, I won't ask you that. But,
And it's got
We actually masked up at Crow previously, before the mask mandate, because clearly,
Sure.
with the tigers at the Bronx Zoo, we can pass. There's the potential to pass to animals.
what do you mean the tigers at the Bronx Zoo?
So early on during the pandemic,
Yeah.
there were tigers at the Bronx Zoo
Yeah.
that had contracted COVID.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
I didn't hear that either.
So
I didn't know a tiger could get COVID.
there's some research out there. Some
I heard
and
the Tiger
so
King got it, but not tigers.
Good
We
one.
at Crow, we have masked up from day one.
Have you gotten any animals that had COVID?
We don't test for that.
Okay, yeah. Why would
but,
you?
We have been blessed, and none of our staff. Because
Great.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you coming on so much, and we'd
Yes.
like to have you back many, many more times. Whatever events you have going on, we want to promote them. And
Absolutely.
if you got an ad or something, send me an ad. I'll put it on the website and everything. And we need to get over there during November and eat.
Eat
right,
till
Kim?
your
You need
heart's
to get a
content.
passport. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
so
And
much.
good luck
Thank you.
in
Thank you for
November.
coming down and
Yeah,
getting in the queue. I
Yeah,
apologize.
we had a great
Is he-
lineup of guests today. So
I know.
Yeah.
Well, even Mike, he mentioned, during fledgling season, make sure you put
Right.
your kitties up.
yeah.
Right. Yes, he did. That's right.
Put your what up?
Put your cats up. Domestic cats.
Oh,
can
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Mike.
deadly
Yeah.
Deadly to animals.
All right. Well, good luck.
Thank you
in
so
November.
much.
Thanks for coming
Thank
on,
you.
Allison. We appreciate it. Allison, everybody from the wonderful organization Crow, and she's putting her mask back on, so everybody knows she's put it on first before she got up. She's following the rules 100%. I guess I should have put mine on when I went to the restroom. But thanks a lot to Allison, and get out in Sanibel in the month of November and support the organization and get on the website and get a membership. So thanks a lot, Allison. We appreciate your time coming down tonight. And folks, Dear, do you want to get on the other side so we can finish up on the other side? And we appreciate you all sticking around. We had a nice big crowd the entire time for the show. And that was very nice of you to hang out. And I did want to tell one quick story before we wrapped it up. I know we've gone super long today. And grab a microphone, dear. Let me see which one you have.
I think I have the same one I had.
All right. And okay, we're good. So we had, I guess I overbooked guests this week. My bad. But we'll talk about that later. Maybe I need
yes,
to
we will.
maybe I need to reassign who guests the books from now on, or books the guests. So the one thing that I did want to share with you is when I a funny story about me. We'll skip the other stuff till next week.
Okay.
I've never. You're yawning. Are you yawning?
Well, I was yawning.
So I when I went to the gym during the week, it was pretty crowded. And what I like to do at the gym is, start with 300 sit-ups on the ball. I've been doing that for, I don't know, 10 years. I don't know, maybe 20 years, maybe 50 years. I don't remember. And this is the first time it's ever happened where I actually slipped off the ball in front of everybody and the ball went shooting behind me and I was floundering on the ground in front of the entire. There's no way to look cool when that happens. I mean, you can laugh at yourself, but everybody's turning their head and laughing at the little pudgy fat guy, the old man who fell off the ball because he doesn't have any balance anymore.
No, whenever something like that happens, you just have to. You have to be the first person to laugh.
I didn't laugh. I pretend. You pretend like it didn't happen.
Oh,
and
I
you
don't.
Just kind of get up.
I'm like, yep, go
away
ahead,
and stuff.
laugh.
All righty. So what a great show today. We need to cut that all up and share it with everybody.
I'm so excited if we actually get to go out on the boat.
Can you imagine? We might be fishing on a kayak
Fishing
and then going out with
I need
Dan,
to find more time.
with Dapper Dan. Man, that guy's smart. He knows a lot about the water and the fishing.
Earlier, but if it's a lot of information that he can't get into, there's just not enough time, and it does get a little,
Thank you,
technical.
Kathy. We appreciate that.
But-
Kathy said really good show today.
Yeah, but go
Yeah.
on their website. He and the other guy that run the organization have some videos there, and it's very.
You see,
they
I didn't want
explain
to.
it in a way that you can understand.
I didn't want to
it.
sound dumber than I was when Dan was actually sitting here. But when I've never actually heard anyone say I'm going down to the Everglades. Like if I think about going down to the Everglades, I just think that, oh man, it's all you see is like grass and water
No,
and
it's-
gators, and
It's
that's
a
it.
national park.
That's what I'm
it's a
saying.
big
Stop making
deal.
faces at me. That's
Well,
why we
I
need
was
to
gonna
get out of the
ask him
house every
'cause I
once in a
went to
while.
that one strand there by myself. We'll talk about that another time. I
All right.
wanted to ask him about that. That's in the Everglades. It is very remote.
All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up here, but I did want to let you know that there's a council meeting on Monday, and it's probably important that you watch the council meeting because they're going to talk about Bayside Park. They're going to talk about Bay Oaks. They're going to talk about the brand new Times Square. All the pictures are in the agenda for Monday's meeting, and we're going to carry it live, of course. The Times Square renderings look so awesome. The Bay Oaks renderings look great with the new field and the new building. They certainly have downsized the Bayside Park area to just some grassy area and a stage. So we'll see what happens with that. But if any of those locations interest you and you're involved in any way, you should watch the meeting on Monday. They're going to get a complete update on that. And it looks like they're going to be at 100% design of Times Square, which I thought it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. I don't know what people down here think, but it looks very nice.
Yeah.
I mean, the drawings always make it look nice. So if it comes out that way, it's going to be super nice. So
Well,
also,
it gives you a good idea of what it's going to look
Yeah.
like.
and there's going to be a stage here too. I mean, we're going to go from 0 stages outside to it looks like maybe even 3. I don't know. Is
Right.
Bay Oaks going to have a stage 2 for? At least they were
I don't-
talking about that, right? I don't know if
Talking
it's
about
going to be.
something that they could use
On the grass,
kind
yeah.
of situation.
So, by the way, it's a beautiful day on the beach today.
It
It is not overly hot. It is not overly crowded, and it is a super nice day with a breeze. So, anyway, enough about us. We will see you soon on the Facebook and on the show. And thanks to all our sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the free newsletter. Comes out every Tuesday and Friday. And go to beachtalkradio.news.com. Bye bye.